to the Retro Game Gauntlet Reviewcast. I'm Turbografx, and I'm here with Septipus.
Yo.
And we just played we just played the PC Engine with our Turbografx emulators, because I don't think we're out to buy it.
It's only $90 on eBay.
Not counting the game.
Yeah, not counting the game.
Do you know how reliable the console actually was?
And in terms of just like actually playing,
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know. It's the actual cards for it. They weren't like real cards. They were almost like sort of like small discs.
Not
discs. That's a bad word. They're more like cards.
Okay.
Like so they were like pretty like stable and thick, but they're also small.
Yeah.
As like kind of like how like SD cards are or like how DS cards are, they do have like exposed points.
Yeah.
So I don't actually know how big of an issue that is, but it could be.
Yeah. Well, regardless of how well these work, talk a little bit about this whole game itself. What we do is we go to a random generator, and during the course of a week, we play a game selected for us at random, attempting to not look up the secret cheats or any other guides on how to play. We're trying to get the raw exposure of if you got this game sort of at a rental store or what have you. Septipus, do you want to do the more in-depth, or do you think that we've done the more in-depth explanation to the gauntlet?
I think if you're watching at this point, basic premise is we pick a random game, play it for a week, we both do the same console, then finally give my shout out to BR, because they're the ones behind the generator.
Yeah.
So good job, 4chan's retro video game board.
You did something good for once, something that your moms are all proud of.
Now, all of you out there, go buy the Retron 5, because I know it's your favorite console.
I wanted to get the shit. What's it called? What's that indie console?
No, the Retron 5 is the one where you can play 5 different games on it. It's got NES. It's got NES. Like,
it's that piece of shit that people have wanted since like fucking 2000.
Yeah, it's a shitty universal emulator like that.
Shit like that never works.
Yeah. No, we don't want that. Fuck the Retron 5. We want to buy those like Sega Genesis consoles that you find in Walmart. The ones that have like 20 games in them.
I know what you're talking about.
They have 20 games in them. And the audio is like fucking abysmal. If you've ever heard like what it sounds like.
I have not, because I don't bother with garbage. Yeah. I only play garbage through my emulators.
Yeah, it's like so bad. If you've ever heard like the audio, it's like unlistenable. It like hurts your ears.
Oh, so it sounds like a Sega Genesis game. Ah, snap! Fucking Sega fans, trigger warning right there. Watch out, because here it comes. the hate is flying. But yeah, if anyone is interested in the more in-depth rules, we've explained it in the first 2 podcasts. Like in the first minute or so, we start talking about it, so it's not hard to find if you are that picky. Okay, so starting off, I played Night Creatures. Night Creatures it's a platformer sort of fighting. If you know Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, it's kind of in the vein of that. Like that feel. It's got that side-scrolling, people come in at you from the side. It's not very platform heavy, as opposed to what's it called? Simon's Quest. There's no like, I'm trying to remember. There's not really any pitfalls where you just fall and die, which was very nice. Especially when I started talking about the hitboxing of this game. It had very jank hitboxing. Plot is you're a guy who is walking just in some highlands, and then the bat comes by, and then the bat bites you, and it flies away, and then Dracula walks up to you and says, "You just got bit by Hecate. Now you're going to be a night creature, unless if you slay her before dawn." And the game pops off, and a woman who I think turns out it's revealed that she was your girlfriend. I thought she was just some woman in the village. Runs up to you and says, "You're going to be a night creature now. Get away from me." And the game begins right there.
Dude, harsh.
It is. So, you kind of just like walk through the town as rats and bats kind of just run at you, and you punch them. You punch them all the way, and the first thing you'll notice is how awful the hitboxing in this game is. It is like it's hard to even explain how bad it is, but hitboxes and hurt boxes never seem to be where they say they are, and there's a lot of situation, if you know fighting games, if you have an active hurt box, that negates your hitbox. So two hurt boxes colliding with each other do nothing. So there's a lot of weird situations where, say, something is attacking you and you go to punch it, and even though your punch very clearly landed, you like just both swing into nothing. So you carry on and you side scroll through the village, and you'll bump into an old gypsy lady, the fat gypsy woman, I believe the game calls her. And she says, I think just the plot again. She sort of reappears whenever you get new items or after you die in an area, and she'll give you like a hint of a specific item you're supposed to use. You carry on, and if you notice, I'm like giving a very like play-by-play of this game because it's a pretty short game and it's easy to give just like a play-by-play of what's happening. You move into the forest, you get an axe, and the silver axe allows you to kill stuff like the werewolves and stuff in the forest. And you'll encounter the first boss, and the first boss is sort of a living tree in the forest. And I fought the tree several times, and to bring up the shitty hitboxing again, here's what'll happen. So the tree, it has like an automatic move to the center of the field. And its main way of attacking is roots will shoot up from the ground. I think of like Wispy Woods and Kirby 64. You move really sluggish, so there's almost no point in trying to dodge the roots coming up from the ground. But you go up and you try to hit the tree in the center, and you'll hit it with the axe, and that's just fine. However, that bounces the tree backwards in the same way like a normal damage boost would with the enemy. However, the tree's instinct is to move back towards the center of the frame again. So it mid-air will shift back towards you and overtake your position, damaging you in the process. So it is literally impossible to hit the tree without getting hit yourself. You can kind of like get accidentally into a perfect area, but there's no real way of predicting that you'll be in the right area. And even if you do find the right area, the chance of a root coming up from underneath you and pushing you out of the area is really high. In the end, I found the best way to deal with this boss and a lot of other just creatures in the game. Just move right up to it, and you don't have to tap. If you listen to the stream, you probably hear me tapping the button a shitload. That's out of just instinct. But you can hold down the attack button. And as I talked about earlier with hurt boxes negating each other, you'll have these weird invulnerability frames. And I found the best way to take down the tree is to just get lucky, hope the tree lands on top of you, and you get stuck inside of it, and you then can take it down that way.
Yeah, I was wondering like about how much of like sort of like enemies or bosses in this would you say are just like basically brute forcing it like that, where it's just run into it and hope for the best.
A lot of it is knowing where to cheap it out the most. For example, the next area is the swamp, and you need to use the mace for the swamp. Mace, I think, has the shortest range of everything, and the main problem you'll encounter are snakes, because if you are in normal range for the snakes, they will do sort of the same thing as the tree and hit you every time. So you have to get the snake on the end of a ledge where it can't make any more progress to you, and then you have to slowly tiptoe forward. You know, you're kind of like inching forward pixel by pixel at a time if you can, crouching and then swinging like a fucking crazy person and hoping that the snake will go on the right frame where it crosses your hurt box. Doesn't work for about, a couple seconds. Inch forward a little bit more and do it again, because if you inch forward too much, it's going to hit you even across like a little gap in the marsh.
I was gonna say one of the problems. Like, I feel like it was like they want these like nice big sprites, so that they have lots of character detail in them. But at the same time, they didn't know how to like properly compensate on how to like make like
the collision is just wonky
things...
on everything. There's very few things that I would say have very regular and predictable collision. In the forest, there's an owl that swoops down, and I would swear if I don't attack it, it'll never hit me. But if I start trying to swing, like reflexively, oh shit, owl's coming down, swing for it, I'll get hit every time just because of the way like the shape of my collision moves. So yeah, lots of weird shit like that. I'll go on, since the swamp, not much happens in there. I'll talk a little bit about the in-game system that you probably would have noticed by this point. The game is on a timer. So you're kind of waiting. If you take too long, dawn comes and you become a night creature. However, as time progresses and you become more and more of a night creature, it actually increases your overall health in the game, I've noticed. Which is an interesting sort of like, I don't know exactly what you'd call it, like a little mechanic, where the closer you are to losing, the more leeway the game gives you. So, and naturally, it also gives a little bit of progression, because by the time you're reaching the end of the game, a decent amount of time will have passed, and you'll have more health. On that note, I don't think this is a very good game for speedrunning. I don't think there's a lot you could really cut down on it. It just isn't built for it. The collision is too irregular for you to cheap it in a good way. You'd just be waiting for the right RNG of hitboxes working your way. Now, you move into the Highlands after that, and it's a thing to note. The tree is probably the most difficult boss in the game, also the first. But it being first is not what makes it difficult. What makes it difficult is almost every boss has the special item that lets you one-shot it or take it down with minimal problems. Because we'll come to the next boss, which is, it's a big pumpkin man. It's like a big scarecrow, and he rolls his pumpkin heads at you as he like grows more of them. You throw a lantern at him and he dies. The lantern's not hard to find. You just backtrack after like the first frame and you pick it up. And then you kill the second boss. Now, killing each of the bosses gives you, like, you get to polymorph into different animals. The tree makes you turn into a wolf. The pumpkin makes you turn into an owl. And I'll get into the other bosses. So the animals have, for the most part, pretty niche use. The owl does have some use in skipping some like vertical scaling areas where there's lots of staircases and shit like that. But other than that, it's used just to get into one room that you need to get into in the graveyard. And the wolf was so useless that they decided, well, the use for the wolf was you needed to beat the final boss. At this point,
well, that's what you get for doubting it. You're like,
for so doubting worthless. The wolf.
So they're like, yeah, how about that? Only the wolf is strong enough to defeat the final boss. Yeah. You were a doubter the whole game, but now look at where you are. The wolf is
a piece of shit. I'll also note when you're in these animal forms, it ticks down your health. So you don't want to be in the animal forms if you can avoid it. Except for the bear form, which I'll get into when we get to that. So the wolf has a shitty jump that you can only hold down the button and it like launches you way forward, and like a little bite attack that has shorter range than your punch. Never found a use for the wolf. The owl, I understand the owl's purpose of having a shitty attack to sort of counteract the fact that you can just fly anywhere and skip large portions of levels. So I'm cool with the owl. Owl's whatever. Generally, the next place to go would be, you want to go back into the woods. There's a hole that you can jump into that takes you into an underground cave structure. This is one of the more vertical areas. It's probably not impossible, but it's very difficult to move back up it. I would reckon only with the owl or the higher jump of the wolf would there be any point. However, you just want to beeline it to the fucking bottom of this place and ignore everything else and go straight to the boss fight. And just take damage as long as you survive the way to the bottom. Boss fights always recover your health to the fullest. And then a witch with a cauldron will come, and you throw one thing of holy water, and you win automatically, and you get bear form, which is the only useful thing. With the bear form, you have like a huge hitbox. You have reduced damage, and the biggest part of the bear is I brought up like the silver axe earlier and the mace. Only certain weapons can hurt certain creatures. Well, the bear can hurt most everything in the game and does more damage, and his hurt box is so huge when he does his paw swipe that he becomes basically invulnerable while he's attacking. So it makes it the bear is used to like just plow through enemies, and you can grind up health sometimes faster than he loses it. So it turns into a big grind machine, but he's pretty useless when it comes to any of the bosses. He might be usable against another boss, but not one that you couldn't one-shot already. As we carry on, you'll have to move up through the crypts from there, because there is a hole that is too small for the wolf to get through. Badger's fucking useless. And you better fucking pick up the crossbow on your way up, because if you don't, you're fucked. This was probably the most difficult part of the game. I got stuck for a while here, not knowing where to go. In the graveyard, there was a mausoleum that you could only enter by flying up out of the normal screen's view range. It just took me a while to think up to do that. No real reason other than kind of just like was stumped as to where to go next. So that ate up a deal of time. And then inside is a, I believe, Septipus, you knew the proper name for what this is? The lady rips off her head?
Yeah, a Penelgalan, I believe is what it is. It's like a Southeast Asian folklore about like a woman whose head detaches and just like their entrails follow along with it.
Yeah, I'll get a nice pretty picture of that somewhere. So this boss, I think more than any boss, gave me the most trouble. It just there's some weird things that go on with this boss, namely when you try and enter the area with the boss. Sometimes it'll detect you as entering the area early, and the screen kind of gets stuck and you get cramped into a really small area. But in the end, just kind of like shoot it with the crossbow enough times and you'll win, and you'll get Badger form, the second most useless form. Badger form is purely to get into like a tight little area where you can then get underground into Hekate's lair after a little bit of backtracking. Now, you need to go through the crypts before you go into Hekate's lair, and you need to get yourself a gun, and you need to get yourself a second crossbow because you probably use it up, because you'll just get fucked in Hekate's lair. I had to restart a game because there's no way I was going to get back up. Hekate's lair itself isn't very difficult. It just has some of the more powerful enemies in there. But other than that, it's not difficult. You just go through there, dodge things, and learn how to abuse the screen so that certain enemies don't load on. It's really not that hard with this game to go, okay, well, if I go over there, the wizard guy is going to spawn, and he's going to shoot the magic I can't fucking dodge. So we then get into Hekate's lair, and you have to fight Cerberus down there. And as far as the final fights go, Cerberus might be, I don't know if I'd say the most frustrating. Cerberus has a very weird attack pattern. It's kind of like, makes me think a little bit of Gemini Man from Mega Man 3, where he is very reactionary to you. Basically, Cerberus runs at you, and you need to crouch. And when you crouch, Cerberus will also crouch and do a leaping pounce. However, he will always do that out of your attack range. So what you need to do is you need to tap forward and tap down, sort of so that you like take a short step forward and then go down, so that Cerberus will go down and he'll be within attacking range. It's pretty difficult to pull off this maneuver, and I'm sure Septimus, you were there, if I recall, when I was fighting Cerberus, right?
Was I can't remember.
The dog with jumps. With Hecate?
Oh, right, yeah. The one that takes like a million hits to kill.
Yeah. And you could probably hear like me hammering the controls the entire time as I have to like slam forward and then slam down. And this game isn't super reactionary, so it like turns into a mess. And then after that fight, you have to then fight a harpy. And the harpy is very difficult to predict where she'll land. She stays in the air always if you're swinging the weapon. So if you just keep swinging, she'll stay in the air, and you got to try and maneuver her into a right position. She kind of has a similar problem to the tree, where if she's within range to hit, then she's probably also in range to hit you. Which wouldn't be too bad, except for the fact that the Cerberus, every time he hits you, probably does about 1/4 of your health. And the Harpy does about 1/3 of your health. And you're going to need wolf form to finish off Hecate at the end. And being in the animal forms burns away your health. So if you get hit by each of them, you probably don't have enough health to finish the fight.
I almost wonder if was the game planned to be more longer, but they ran out of time, but they had all the bosses more or less ready to go. So they just decided, let's just have a boss rush at the end.
Yeah, definitely I want to talk about the length of the game and stuff like that. On that note, when I did checked up on the game facts and found a guy who put up a guide.
The one guy.
the guy who put up a guide.
The guy who just fucking loves night creatures.
I noticed at the bottom, like right after, because I wanted to see like, okay, what is the proper way to like beat these bosses? At the bottom, he say, "Congratulations, you just beat the hardest Turbografx game." I find that very hard to believe. This game, I will say, however frustrating it wasn't very hard. It was pretty easy to figure out. The manual tells you almost every secret in the game. It tells you what the bosses are weak to in the manual. So, anyway, carry on. Get into that stuff when I finish, because I'm almost done with the game. I almost won. I'm playing it right now.
Have you just been playing the game and then every time something comes up?
I'm just narrating it as I play. No, here's how you know I'm not, because if I was playing it right now, you'd be hearing this from my your loud ass fucking controller.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's your own fault for bringing your controller both down here and then forgetting to bring it instead of taking mine.
Anyway, so after you beat those, so those are the real difficult hurdles. Next, what's it? A Gorgon comes up, Medusa comes up. You can just sort of sit in the back corner and you nail her a few times with the crossbow. Figuring out that you got to do that is the hardest challenge of just knowing you're supposed to use the crossbow. Then a Hydra comes up, shoot it with the gun, and then I don't know, I forget what the fuck she is. Some big fucking femme comes at you with a whip, and you shoot her once with a gun, and she dies.
I'm pretty sure that's just what it was. Wasn't it just a big woman? It wasn't like a Medusa or anything.
It's a demon thing. I don't remember.
A succubus.
No, I'll look it up later. I'll put in a nice big I'll have Microsoft Sam just edit in whenever I say some big bitch.
They call her a succubus because when you already nutted, she's still sucking.
And you'd be like, "Oh, you bitch." Anyway, so you do all that. And then Hecate herself shows up. She shows up in the form of your girlfriend. And I was really excited. I don't know, you might remember I did a save state, not to scum it, but because I wanted to see if something would happen. Because in the manual, it says that if you try to approach her in your human form, she will kiss you and then throw you across the room. It didn't really happen. You just kind of like bump off of her, like in Zelda 2, and you bumped into an enemy. I was really disappointed that there'd be like a really cool animation or something where it would grab your character and like throw them. Nothing like that happened. There's no mystery to how to beat the boss other than the fucking shitboxing. Because the manual just says you can only beat her as the wolf. It says like in big fuck bold text, you can only beat Hecate as the wolf. Anyone else is useless. So you turn into the wolf, and then you go, the wolf's range is shit. I can't hit her until she clips into your hitbox, and you basically kill her the same way you kill the tree, by being invulnerable within the enemy. And then the game ends, and it reveals that like your girlfriend is still Hecate or something. I don't give a fuck. Bad end. Hooray. You're not a night creature anymore. Okay, so that is the game fucking just like summarized into a concise ball. You can listen to this like podcast and just beat night creatures now. So to talk about the mechanics and stuff of the game, I've talked the entire time about it being incredibly frustrating, the hitboxing. But you know what? The game is so incredibly short. The game is very short. Like I'd reckon could probably beat it in 20 minutes at this point. I mean, I had to do a restart in Hecate's lair to go back and get crossbow and the gun as well. And it wasn't that big of a setback. It was just do it again, power through it. You brought up a good point of maybe the game was supposed to be longer. It does kind of have that feel. However, in a weird way, I forgive the shitboxing a little bit because of how short it is. The game is so short and you can power through it so hard that when you take a cheap death, it's like, well, it's not that big of a deal for me to just push reset and get back to this.
I was gonna say the game is short, but didn't it have a save feature?
It does have a save feature, and I can tell you that save feature absolutely has to be in there 100%, just so that you can cheap it out. Because they knew that a lot of times it got cheap, so you can save and just restore from that point, no problem. I mean, maybe the save feature was left in on them thinking they're gonna have a bigger game. That's possible, but I would say they would just not even bother at that point and just cut it out. My overall opinion of the game, it was all right. I had fun with it while I played it. I can tell you for sure that if I had my Turbografx and like I want the hot new game, I've seen it advertised. It says it's got the baddest graphics and the raddest sound. It's gonna make my toes curl. It's gonna be like a barking dog in my fucking face. And I go out and I buy this game, and it like I get my mom to buy it. I cruise in on my skateboard. She just gave me a fucking pocket full of money. I put down $60 fucking on the counter. They're like, this game's M. I'm like, I know, it's so cool. I take it home, and it's like, this game, I beat it in a fucking hour. I would have been really fucking disappointed. Just the length of this game. Like, however, let me take a big step back. That is if you are purchasing this game. This game, however, is fucking great if you're going to rent it, or if you're just emulating it and you want a game that you can play in like 2 days. This is like the perfect game if you just want a short, like, game that is kind of fun. It's got like the adventuring elements are fun. I enjoyed having to use like the different weapons and looking for the weapons. Like the only thing that really hurts this game is the bad hitboxing. Definitely when it had the woman ripping her head off, because as far as the art goes, it's very Boo Spooky Mansion type. You know, you get attacked by bats and rats, spooky werewolves, a tree man, a swamp monster, a zombie, and a skeleton. And then the lady rips her fucking head off and her organs shoot out of her body and fly around her. And it's done like beautiful, animations.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was a pretty elaborate animation for like ripping her head off. Nothing else has anything like that elaborate. Everything else is like only 2 frames maybe.
Yeah, like Hecate didn't have any fucking animations. Even her death animation was like 4 frames of her turning into a skeleton on fire, as they just like repeated the fire animation to make it glow. So I think you probably did bring up a good thought. Maybe this game was supposed to be bigger than it was, and then whatever happened mid-production. Maybe I need to read up the Wikipedia article, see if something happened in production. I doubt I'll find anything. What's that website where they crack open games and they find editors?
The cutting room floor. Just abbreviated TCRF.
Yeah, this might have a good article somewhere. I'll have to look that up later. So overall, I had fun with the game. Back in the day, I wouldn't have had fun with the game.
I was gonna say, is this just a game that was just good for just the Gauntlet's marathoning purposes? It fits within your timetable well, and it's something new that you wouldn't have played any other reason.
What I should say is, maybe you're interested in playing a Turbografx game. This is a pretty alright game that, it's not hard to pick up. It's pretty easy to figure out. I didn't need the manual for 90% of the game. I only got stuck on one part. And if you've played older games, you know that a lot of stuff like this has shitty hitbox. Donkey Kong Country, the first Donkey Kong Country, has fucking awful hitboxing. It makes no sense sometimes.
I definitely know when I was playing Turbografx games, the first thing I thought of was, I'm gonna play Night Creatures, not Bonk, not Devil's Crush or Blazing Blazers. Play Night Creatures.
Yeah, I mean, in general, it's an alright game. You don't need to rush out to go play it, but I can guarantee if you do play it, you'll probably have fun, especially if you play it maybe with some friends, because capturing some of that frustrating moments with your friends, probably alright. It might actually be a fun game if you're to pass the controller around for every life.
Well, I'll pass it on to the next person. I don't want to play Night Creatures.
You don't want to play Night Creatures?
You're giving it way more credit than I would have. When I saw Night Creatures, it did not look like anything I want to play.
I had fun. I had fun in the ambiguous sort of ethereal sense of fun. I didn't have literal fun.
You had fun in the abstract.
Yes.
You had fun in a perspective of seeing a game you wouldn't have otherwise played.
Yeah, because it had a fun environment. It had fun looking graphics. It had a fun little story. A lot of fun. The game wasn't fun, but there's a lot of fun involved.
there were fun orbitals around a really not a very good game.
Here is my final. This is the cut and dry. You want to play Night Creatures? I won't fucking stop you, but I also won't tell you go play Night Creatures. That is my limit of the game. Let's go on to your game. I think I've cut everything out of mine, unless if you have a question about it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So with my game, right at the at the very beginning, you get this. The game is called Silent Debuggers, by the way. And what was interesting of this game is how unabashedly anime the game is, which is something you did not see too often. NES games, in retrospect, when you've been more exposed to anime and stuff, you can look at it and go oh yeah, I guess that was kind of more anime than I would have thought back in the day when it wasn't as much exposure kind of thing.
Dragon Spirit is probably a big one that pops up.
Yeah, exactly.
Only because we grew up on that, not because I'm sure a lot of other people think of Dragon Quest.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of good games that you could cite as being that seem way more familiarly anime than you would have thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one even I mean, it's in the Western release of the game. On the title screen, it says Silent Debuggers, and then it has the subtitle Silent Debuggers in Japanese.
Okay.
So so it actually has the kanji there, which is I don't know any other game that's ever done that.
Yeah.
But so you in the beginning get your basic plot, and what it is, it's in the far future there was a big war between two factions. The war's mostly over, but sort of the aftermath of the war is that all the soldiers who were involved have no purpose. So they've all sort of become interconnected, separate sort of bounty hunter groups now.
Mm-hmm.
And these are what are called the debuggers. And what the debuggers are, they're just they're exactly the kind of thing you would think they're bounty hunters, they're pirates, they're explorers, just things like that. And your group of silent debuggers is you, the player, and then your friend Leon, and the two of you have come to this sort of space station cargo bay that you've heard has a whole bunch of really good valuable treasures, just supplies in it.
Mm-hmm.
But the catch is that all the silent debuggers who have gone there to try and loot it have never come out.
Okay, wait. So I have an important question because maybe I'm glazing over. Maybe there's something wrong with my brain. Is there any debugging involved?
I do think there is. At least part of it is in the plot of this game. The part, like the main aspect, is that the space station you're in will self-destruct,
Yeah.
and your pal Leon is working the computer to try and stop it. So that's
Okay. Because I was thinking, like, is this just a Shadowrun thing where they just thought that was a cool name to call people? We're gonna call them Blade Runners.
yeah. Well, I
Even
mean
though
that's
they
the
don't
thing
use
is
swords or they don't run much.
there is actual debugging in this game,
Okay.
but the actual description of debuggers as just sort of bounty hunters doesn't necessarily imply that that's all they do.
Okay.
But that's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
So what's interesting about this game is that it's actually like it's got the sort of it's a first-person shooter with the sort of like dungeon crawling perspective that you would expect from like an RPG like Wizardry or the Shin Megami games. So it's like you go forward like by square units into like a solid room, and then the way the first-person shooter mechanics work is that you hold down like the 2 button for your Turbografx controller. You hold down 2 button to shoot, and then you would normally use like the the D-pad to move around on the map. But when you hold down the 1 button, that allows you to like move like the reticle to like point in specific spots to aim. So you move it and then you shoot, kind of thing.
Does it like snap to parts of the screen, or is it
no, it's not like because the way you're describing it is a lot like the game Snatcher. I don't know if you've ever played Snatcher.
No, I've not.
Yes, and with Snatcher, the Kojima's like point and click adventure that was a ripoff of Cyberpunk Harrison Ford.
Oh,
you know that movie, the Harrison Ford Cyberpunk.
Alien.
Yes, Alien. but with that one, it was like it would be a grid of 9 squares, and then you would just move into those spots to shoot the enemy wherever the enemy was.
Okay.
This one, it's all free flow. You can control any point on the map, and that's how it works. But probably the problem with it is you never actually need to do it, because basically the enemies all have the same shape. They're just different colors depending on what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
With the exception of like there's like a green blob that'll sometimes climb on the ceilings that you have to shoot, but you'll only see like 1 or 2. I only saw 1 or 2 of those in the entire game. But yeah, so basically you just want to align the crosshair towards like where the vague headshot area would be of the enemy.
Upper mid.
And then you
I'm guessing.
What was that?
Like the upper middle of the screen.
Yeah, exactly. So you just sort of move it a little, and then you basically never want to move it again. You'll just keep it locked in that position.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and the game begins. Is the sort of format of the game is there's the center, and that's where Leon is working on the computer, and you go there to change your weapons or like pick up like items that he gives you, and then outside that there's like 8 different quadrants that you navigate through, and each quadrant are kind of like in like a sort of tower defense game kind of thing. You have to protect those from getting destroyed. Mm-hmm. And each one and 4 of the 8 are just nothings. They're just there for protect. They're just there that you have to protect them. And then the other 4 have like vital life support systems part of the ship. Like one of them, if it gets destroyed, you won't be able to recharge your ammo for any of your weapons. There's another one that you lose where you won't be able to recharge your battery, which is your sort of life force in this game. Mm-hmm. And then the other one is the lights. If that gets destroyed, the entire game goes dark, and it's a lot harder to navigate and see the enemies. And then the final one is the radar, which the way you find enemies is it tells you whether the enemies are close, like by using like a green, yellow, red kind of warning system. Mm-hmm. Since this is all like narrow, like maze corridors, you don't know where the enemy's going to be without that. So if you lose that, then temporarily, like through like at random intervals, it'll just stop working, and then you just have to rely on your own intuition to find the enemies.
So if you lose any of these, are you just like immediately fucked?
What happens is for some it is basically if you lose like one of those major ones. Losing lights is fine. I lost lights. The way you can handle losing the ammo cargo bay is you have 3 weapons, 2 of which require you to recharge ammo, and one does not. It's just like a wait for it to charge.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically just use that one gun throughout the entire game because it's pretty good. It's really all you need. And then if you lose the wave one, that's tolerable because it is not permanently off. It just randomly turns off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The most dangerous one to lose is the battery one, because if you lose that, then there's no just easy way to recharge, which isn't exactly true, because what happens is even though those are vital things, if you lose them, Leon will actually give you an item that compensates for it. Like when you lose the battery recharge station, he gives you like a portable charger.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is I never found out how those items work. I tried so hard to navigate the menus, I could not get it to work. And it was only like my 3rd preview where I found out that I was actually not using the gun that I was given. Because you have you start off with a standard pea shooter, and then you choose your main weapon along with that. So there's 3 guns. There's your pea shooter, just for any all-purpose. There's the stronger gun, which either has limited ammo or you need to wait for it to charge. And then there's your sub-weapon, which is like grenade launchers and those kind of special weapons.
Now, I'm curious, because you brought up menus. My menus were exceptionally frustrating in my game. Were they, just hard to handle in general? Like, they were finicky and there's a tendency to push the wrong button?
Yes, exactly. There's a big tendency to push the wrong button. Like, when you go to line up to select something, it, would automatically then take you to the exit menu, kind of thing like that.
I wonder if there's something weird in the programming of the Turbografx, where holding the ROM still in whatever frame it is, it doesn't work right or something.
Yeah, and there's also this really annoying thing where if you want this, you can pick 2 main sub items, the portable battery charger or or a teleporter that allows you to get to certain places really quickly. But if you only have one of those instead of 2, it automatically grabs it to you. So you can't actually look at your items. You'll say, I want to look at my items, and it'll bring up the menu, and then it instantly closes it because you only have 1 item, so it just automatically gives it to you. So you don't know exactly what's happening before you so you keep doing it over and over. Why isn't it letting me look at the menu?
Yeah.
But yeah. And so that's sort of the basic game. The main the creatures you're fighting are these aliens, where kind of imagine the torso of a generic sort of insectoid monster, like space pirates in Samus, or the xenomorphs in Alien.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of imagine the upper torso of that.
The xenomorphs in Blade Runner.
Yeah, the xenomorphs in Blade Runner. And instead of legs or anything, what they actually have is this kind of alien balloon that they are floating on.
It sounds really fucking comical.
It looks like a serviceable evil alien.
Well, what I'm imagining is I'll explain what's going on in my brain. I'm seeing a xenomorph, but in balloon fight.
Pretty much. it just remove its legs, and then there's a big sort of it's an organic balloon.
Yeah.
And then that's just sort of how they levitate around the level.
It's funny imagery in my brain.
Yeah. So yeah, and like I said, it's basically you just want to line up the headshot. There is body damage, you can remove its arms and things like that, but you basically just want to shoot it in the head.
That's all as soon as you can.
Yeah, there are there isn't the sort of most strongest of the variants. You can shoot its head off, and it'll still be running around without its head. But it's still you just need to hit it with enough ammo, and it'll eventually die.
I mean, I didn't play the game. Would you reckon that there might be a strategy of I don't know, shooting off its arms so it can't attack?
There
And
might
then
be,
you can leave
yeah.
it alone for a while, and it'll be less effective in taking down the things, so you can multitask.
Yeah, I believe that is a factor. Like I never used like there's a gun called the sleep gun. I
Yeah.
never bothered because I didn't need it. But that was probably like another form of incapacitating it.
Well, I guess you won, so all the same.
It might be more important if you do like hard mode,
Oh, okay.
because it was just normal and hard were the things you could choose from. So no, those might be more important in that section.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't. So yeah. But so yeah. So there's there's the center and then the 8 quadrants, and then outside of that is like a sort of much more complex and tighter maze, and that's where all the aliens are. So you have to go out and kill them there. Okay. With the exception of, like how I said, the quadrants can be destroyed. What it is that there's one type of alien species that can escape the main outside maze. So the thing is, like, so while you get stuck in like a much more complicated maze, you'll hear like an alarm go off, letting you know that in some other part of the level, there's a guy like just tearing up shit. Mm-hmm. So you have to find your way to escape that maze while not getting killed by any enemies, so that you can find where that's happening, so that you can stop them.
How random is this maze? I mean, could you have a map?
There is in fact a map. For the first levels, it's like only like, for the first few levels, it's only like half of the total grid is actually used for the map, and then the latter half you use all 4 sides of the map with mazes, and then it gets increasingly complex. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you do in fact have a map that you can view and then navigate like that. Okay. Just with meticulous pausing to make sure you're not hitting the wrong turn. And for the most part, you know, there's the game over factors, like how you lose, is because when you die, when you run out of battery, it does not kill you. What it does is it takes 5 minutes off your timer, since the base you're on will self-destruct in 100 minutes. So every time you die, you lose 5 minutes of that time. So that's one way to game over, and the other way to game over is if all 8 quadrants get destroyed.
How do you actually progress through the levels? Because so far it sounds like it's just a defense game.
What it is, yeah, it's primarily defense, but what it is each level has a limited number of aliens. So once you defeat them all, it lets you know, and then you go onto like the next floor of like the space station to do the same thing in increasingly complex ways.
Well, then how many times do you have to do this?
Let's see, how many levels? I believe it's there might be, I believe it might have been 6 levels, and then there's the final floor. Let me double check. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, it was like 6 levels, and then the final level. And so you have to do that within. So I would say that this is a really good game to just play, because it can't be longer than 100 minutes. That's the longest the game could be. That's assuming you've never died, and you're also really bad at the
game. but not so bad that, you don't get game overed by the stuff getting taken down.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's a pretty good game to just like do like in like one sitting. Once you know how to do it, and even though I never learned how to use the items, I still was able to beat it. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of what else was
anything else to say.
I mean, I really like the game. For whatever reason, when I was like just looking it up after the fact, like a lot of people were like really dissing on it, and I don't get it, because it was not like a bad game.
That's funny, because
of the imagination. It was
just night creatures, and a lot of people seem to like night creatures.
What was that?
People like night creatures, and it's like it wasn't that good.
Yeah.
I saw people like night creatures is cool. I'm like, I guess.
Everyone was dissing on silent debuggers, and I thought the game was really good. I mean, it's short, but I mean, it's enough challenge for me, especially for the maybe, like I said, maybe it's just the sort of Gauntlet's marathon bias, where a nice tight short game is all you.
Yeah, short games are more fun when you're playing the Gauntlet. I mean, what were they complaining about? Like, did they not like was the main character not enough of a cutie pie?
They don't like that it's timed. They don't like that,
They're fucking pussies.
So I don't know what people's problems were.
You don't like that it's timed? What are you doing playing Turbografx games?
Yeah, so I would definitely recommend this game as play. I mean, it's legitimately good. Its first person shooter mechanic with the aiming seems a little primitive, but I mean, it's still like, there's still the challenge of, because enemies still like charge at you and attack you, so you can't just stand still and shoot, even though you're. So you just don't worry much about the aiming once you just have it in spot. But you still have to move around and avoid the enemies in the corridors, or be able to time your ability to shoot them correctly. So the first levels are all the same, except for the final one. The final level does not have a maze. You have to fight the enemies just within the center quadrant.
Yeah.
And instead of it being a final boss, it's the same enemies, but now they're all invisible. And if you die once in that section, then it's automatic game over. Or at least it was for me, because the first time I got there and died, I was under 5 minutes left on my timer.
Mm-hmm.
So when I died, it was just game over.
So you're speaking out of your ass is what you're saying.
Not completely out of my ass, but it's sure to. But that's basically what happened. Yeah. And so on my second time, when I was able to get there, I beat the game. I think with like 4 minutes left. It was like how much time I had left, and that was like I did die more than once, I believe, like once or twice. So I guess I could have beat it in like maybe 14 or 15 minutes left on the timer if I didn't die once. Yeah. I will say advice for people who are playing this is the big problem is definitely you don't want to lose your 8 quadrants. So what you want to do is once you start reaching the level where there's a whole bunch of those enemies that can infiltrate the quadrants, don't get too deep into the maze. Like just like stay like around the perimeter so you know where the door is, and shoot and just kill whatever aliens you can find in those areas. Because as soon as you hear the alarm, you're gonna want to get out like right away.
All right. Well, is that all for Silent Debuggers?
Yeah, pretty much. Really good game. I also like the ending where you find like it turns out you find like this weird like big version of the alien. You don't get to fight him. Leon shoots him with a big gun.
You get to fight him in hard mode.
Yeah, but spoilers for the deep plot of this game. It turns out all the aliens you were fighting were actually the debuggers from Journeys past.
Oh
who had become mutated by the monster. Yeah. So like I said, it's and every time you beat a level, it's got like neat little cinematics where you talk to Leon, and then there's also like a mysterious debugger who you never see. Like, who is that, and why are they in here? And then meanwhile you see the monster. Like the monster is like faded dark, like mysterious, so you don't get to see the full look of the monster. And he's going like, these debuggers are interesting. I think I'll watch them play for a little longer.
It's like you're playing Battletoads now. The evil queen is watching the toads enter the facility.
Yeah, exactly.
Aha, my rat man will stop you.
Yeah, so Silent Debugger is a really good game. I'm glad I got this rolled up and not 9 pictures.
Well, I think in the end we both had fun. I think that you got overall the more interesting game. Definitely better than your last roll of Carmen Sandiego, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely better. And that's not a game for babies.
I'm waiting for the day though, because it has to happen eventually where we both get a piece of shit and we have to do the podcast and we're just like, I have nothing to say to you, and you're like,
can't wait to play like Hello Kitty and I don't know what other awful games can we get.
I'll get Bugs Bunny again.
Get Bugs Bunny and Hello Kitty. That's what we're gonna play.
All right.
Speaking of which, aren't we gonna roll now?
Yeah, I was just about to cut in to say, hey, let's pull up the gauntlet. We're gonna roll.
Yeah. For the first time in this podcast, we're going to do a live roll.
Usually I do my rolls while I'm streaming, but it's all the same here. You'll just have to trust me.
Yep.
Super Nintendo?
No secrets here. Yeah, sure, let's do Super Nintendo.
We haven't done Super Nintendo yet, so
right.
I'm clicking it.
Countdown. Countdown. or did you already click it?
I didn't click it yet.
Okay. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Click it.
Yeah. I got Pinball Fantasies.
I got RoboCop 3.
The best RoboCop. Oh wait, no, dude, you got the Dilbert game though.
No, that's not the Dilbert one. The game from the Dilbert video. That's like from the Game Boy.
I know it's a Game Boy, but it's I can guarantee you they were released at the same time. They need to be the same game.
Well, I hope it has the music from that Dilbert video.
Pinball Fantasies. Before we kill this, we're gonna get it live. This is gonna be a reaction podcast video.
It can't be a reaction because the Fine Bros have copyrighted the word react.
Oh shit! Wait a minute. I think I know what this is. No, it's not it. I thought for a moment. Do you remember Epic Pinball?
Oh,
it looks a lot like that. I might have to re-roll this. I'm not sure if Pinball Fantasies has an end.
You can all pinball games have an end, Alec. There's the jackpot. That's the end state of the game.
Okay, I'll aim for a jackpot on it looks like there's 2 or 3.
And I don't know, and it might be like a pinball levels, like where you beat it, then it goes into the next 4.
We'll see. I'll check it out. I'll look up I'll try and find maybe a GameFAQs page on it or something. See if there's someone who says and this is how you get to the end. I'll be like, okay. Other than that, shoot for jackpots. If it does seem too bare bones for me to really talk about, because I want to play this game, but
you'll do two. You can do 2 games. We'll do a triple decker.
Ah, dang! What I gotta do 2 games?
Because Alec, I'm gonna be playing RoboCop 3. I'm pretty sure the game's gonna be balls hard.
Yeah,
and not because it's
fun. Have you seen RoboCop 3?
No, I have not seen RoboCop 3. I've only seen RoboCop 1.
Okay, so you're gonna have to watch RoboCop 3 because RoboCop 3 is a thing.
Is that the one where he gets the jetpack?
That is the one where he gets a jetpack and has a little kid sidekick. That's what you're in for.
All right, I'll watch RoboCop 3, but not RoboCop 2.
No, you don't need RoboCop. Even though most people say I think that RoboCop 2 was the best one, because it's the one where he goes fucking crazy.
I don't know. I can't imagine that because RoboCop 1 is just that good.
RoboCop 1 is really good. Anyway, anything left to say?
Maybe you want to try and roll that other SNES game now, just in case. We'll see what happens.
I'll do that. So it's live right now. So if this one doesn't work out, I'll play the game I'm about to roll up. If it does work out, maybe I'll save this roll for another. Do we want to do that? Do we want to save it for the next Super Nintendo run?
Want to do it for the next, if we do another SNES?
Do 2 Super NESs in a row? I'm cool with that. Okay.
All right.
And click. Zoop.
Zoop.
Is Zoop the one with the ninja in Candyland?
I have no idea.
I recognize the title, I think. Zoop.
I think it was a puzzle game.
Yeah. No, Zoop, the Killer of Time. In that it's a puzzle game. Which may also not have anything.
Well, then you know what? Then it would be perfect to play both of those in one sitting.
Okay, yeah. I'll play both of them if the pinball isn't enough. And we'll go from there. Good rolls on my end. All right. So is this us signing off?
I think so.
Is this going to be the last free one? Do we have to start charging people after this for the art?
Yeah, we're putting this behind a paywall. Please pay $8.
I'm going to have to ask you if you are going to want to hear the next episode, you'll be able to hear the first 5 minutes of it. But after that, there'll just be a high-pitched buzzing if you do not have an account with us. I'm going to need you to go ahead, if you want to donate, and become one of our elite members.
Become a Goldie.
Yeah, if you want to be a Goldie, I need you to open up that email address. You're going to have to send your SSN to savagearmitage@aol.com. Just go ahead and send that in. And give me your preferred bank account, because if you do not send your preferred bank account number, I'm just gonna have to take it from anyone that comes up, and that's just gonna cause tears to happen. So send that money in, boys. Anything else you want to say before we go?